All right, so what this is supposed to be is just an introduction to what La Selva Biological Station is, as well as a few additional thoughts and things that are happening here that since I've been here for been here 1 year and 3 months or so, that I've been learning about. I was here in Costa Rica in the late 80s and most of the 90s, and some of the issues that were happening over there, some have gotten worse, and some have gotten better. So, but it's part of my job in here to help set directions for science and for research that have to do with conservation of this forest. So the second part of this presentation is going to talk about the council. But the beginning is just the introduction. I mean, it's basically that's a whole biology station, but mostly I just like to call it, I can't believe I get to work here. This is a really extraordinary place to work for a biologist. It's, even before OTS was formed, 50 years ago, this place was already a place for science, and there were already research going on here. So this is one of the oldest research stations in the tropics. This is one of the first protected areas in Costa Rica, and it has an enormous amount of information already generated. So OTS, as you probably know, the Organization for Tropical Studies, is a consortium of universities. The University of Colorado is a member. And it's about 55 universities right now. It goes up and goes down, up to 60, sometimes a little less. But it started with 7 universities 50 years ago. It's a way to facilitate researchers and students and classes to come here and do work in Costa Rica in the tropics. The courses and the things that we had pioneered, like the tropical ecology course, have become models for tropical ecology courses around the world. They use it in Australia, they use it in South Africa. And the mission is not to carry out research. Like you go to the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, that's what they do. That's their mission, is carry out research. And the researchers there are employees of Smithsonian. And they are their own staff. And here it's a little different model. Here we just create the setting for you to be able to do research, and for you to be able to teach your classes, and also learn about how to rationally use this environment. We have 3 biological field stations in Costa Rica. This one here in Puerto Viejo, La Selva. We have Las Cruces near San Vito, on the border with Panama, and Palo Verde within the Palo Verde National Park. This is our San Jose office. But we also have an office in South Africa. Our main corporate office is in Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. And we have an office in Peru. And an employee, the science director, works out of Colombia. So we're fairly international. Our monthly meetings are a variety of hours and times and jet. So the 3 biological stations are the fleet. And La Selva is kind of the flagship of that fleet. So we talked very briefly about the other ones. I'm assuming that you did not visit any of these stations. Las Cruces has also been here for almost 30 years, and it's called to fame as the Wilson Botanical Garden, one of the nicest and best kept botanical gardens in the tropics. And it has the second largest palm collection in the world, so it's like a botanical garden we work with live collections. And it has it's mid-elevation type of locations between 1,000 and 1,400 meters above sea level. It's pre-montane rainforest. So still rainforest, but it gives you that access to the mid-elevations. And the botanical garden is extraordinary. Palo Verde is completely different. It's lowland, it's dry forest, which is the type of forest that is highly seasonal, 6 months of rain, 6 months of no rain whatsoever. But it's also next to one of the most important international wetlands in the American tropics. It's a Ramsar site, with amount of waterfall. So it has this, also many years of research in there, but it has these 2 very contrasting places. Dry forest, you go there in the dry season and it's just, it looks like winter. No leaves on the trees, but really, really hot. And no water whatsoever. And then for 6 months you have high wind, and going to the rainy season like it's starting to go right now, then you get the mosquitoes, and with those wetlands you imagine the mosquitoes So it gives you a completely different site to do ecological studies. And then La Selva, which is the premier field station that we have, started in 1955 by Leslie Holdridge. And if you get into the literature of tropical ecology, you're going to find the Holdridge life zone charts that allows you to, based on elevation and precipitation, find out what kind of forest you're in. This is the guy that did it. This is the people. He's a guy, not a girl. And like I mentioned, was one of the first protected areas. Right now it's about 1,603 hectares, but it has the advantage that it's connected to a very large protected area, which is over 45,000. It's the most productive, scientifically productive research station in the world. I have not found anything comparable to the productivity of the research community that works at it. Started right there, at the river house. This is where you were staying, right? And originally this was Holdridge's house when he was here. It was an 8-hour trip down the dirt roads from San Jose to get to this little housing complex in Puerto Viejo, that is Puerto Viejo right now. Then a boat trip, and then climb up the steps to get to the house. The kitchen, dining hall, and labs were downstairs, dormitory, just bunk beds upstairs, and a lot of research. Look at the little field. Weather station there was really good. So that's how we started around in the 1960s, and that was the first building. Now you see how nicely we remodeled it and everything. Feel permanent building. In context with the protected areas of the country, here's La Selva, the Barba Corridor, and the Braulio-Carrillo National Park, and complex of protected areas around the mountains. This is high mountain here, this is a low. About 25% of Costa Rica is under protected status, and that has given Costa Rica a really high level of notoriety around the conservation community. The other side of that story is most of what is not in a protected area has been severely impacted. It's like private conservation of forest is almost non-existent once you get out of the protected areas, and that's changing, but not changing fast enough when you see that conversion very, very rapidly. So 25% protected, is it really protected? If you don't do something on the outside, that protection is not really guaranteed, and we'll talk more about that. This is the most recent land use image that we have right now from 2012. What you see in light blue, well, dark green and light green is forest. There's La Selva here, the Barba Corridor, the region, all of this. Green is forest, blue is pasture, which used to be forest. Purple is pineapple, yellow is banana, this is palm, and some other palm. If you look at this image, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 90% of it would be green. This happened fast, happened really, really fast. And so fast that we're now in a position where if we didn't buy with the National Park Service system, this piece of land about 12, 15 years ago, it would be completely surrounded right now by agriculture. Completely. It would be an island, and the integrity of this forest would be lost. So this was a preview, or somebody had the foresight to say, wait a second, things are going really fast, all these forests. I have a whole sequence of slides. I'm going to get back to this stuff. Another view of the same situation. Here's La Selva, Braulio, the Barba Corridor, Braulio, the Maquenque Wildlife Refuge, which is kind of a paper, one of those paper parks. And you decided this is a good place for a park or a wildlife refuge, and you put it in a map, and there's a whole bunch of people in there that is like, why are we doing this? And then this is the watershed of the Rio Frio and Rio Sarapiquí, which is where we are. Every little red line in there is a school that did not exist 30 years ago. This is all the recent population. Wherever you have a school, you have a community, you have all kinds of needs and services and electricity and roads and sewage and water needs and all of that. And all of this has happened in the last 30, 35 years. Talking to people around here in the 1960s, actually, yeah, when Holdridge was here, Puerto Viejo was 3 houses. That's what it was. There was no such thing as Puerto Viejo. It was just 3 little houses in there. So things can happen very fast, and they happen even faster than that. So this is the community that we need to be talking to right now. And like I mentioned yesterday, briefly, I guess, with some of you, when you look at the productivity, and I'll show you the numbers, over 4,000 scientific papers published out of La Selva, and I wonder, and I asked the question, well, how much of that information is actually in a format that a guy next door or a school teacher can actually read, and it's nothing, zero. There's not a single book for the public about the work done in La Selva in the last 45 years or 50 years. And that's a huge gap, because these people don't know what's happening in here, and the thing is just a bunch of crazy gringos doing weird stuff with poking animals and things like that. If that's what they think we're doing, and they don't have a better sense of the importance of what we do, and yes, scientists know that, but do they? Then they're not going to care what happens to this, and they're not going to care when I tell them what you're doing is really impacting this. We have to switch that mode really, really quickly. We don't have a lot of time to make these people start caring about what's in here and what's in here, or it's going to be gone. Simple as that. Another little view, La Selva here with corridor. This is a kind of a 3D thing. I'm just showing you this to see, so you get an idea of what we'll be doing with our GIS. Yes?
Can we ask questions as you go, or you prefer that we hold them at the
No,
end?
if you want to ask questions, it's your talk.
One question. You said that when they established a national park, they bought the land.
Yeah.
So it used to be like private ownerships?
This?
Yes.
We, OTS, helped raise the funds to buy these farms that were already in the process of being converted. And then we said, we're having enough trouble managing, as a little organization, managing 1,600 hectares. We can't manage, 5,000. So we decided that once that was bought and was secure, was going to be part of the farm. So it became part of the project of the National Park. So we gave it, OTS gave it to the ministry.
So there are not like federal public lands in Costa Rica owned by the government?
Yeah, that's the national park.
But before it became a national park, it was private land?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So,
but there is a...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
In communicating with the outside neighborhoods, with what you guys do, is there any thought maybe of like requiring that the scientists who come into research here have to at one point or another go to like a school or something and speak about what they do?
It's easier said than done. The ideas are not lacking. There is a requirement for NSF grants right now that you have some social relevance and social responsibility thing that gives back to the community. And it really goes beyond giving a copy of the paper to La Selva. It's just, when it comes to implementation, most people just haven't thought about how to do that. For a researcher, time here is really expensive. It costs them $60, $70 a day to be here, plus the equipment and the travel and all this stuff. To take time to go and talk to a bunch of kids and learn the Spanish thing, and it's just not easily implementable. I feel the burden is on us in here to create a mechanism by which I can just extract that. If you speak Spanish, great. Can you come to the school with me? Come on. And then take you, or create a mechanism to get that information back and make it relevant outside. And we have, I'll talk about technology, I have a whole talk on technology, about a bunch of ideas that we are coming up with, using now the Wi-Fi system that we have and the possibility of really high broadband to actually do programming called La Selva Live in Spanish that goes over the internet and gets archived and is sent to schools where I will go, or one of my guys goes and said, okay, today we're going to talk to this researcher that's working on spiders. And here we are in the field, we're out in the woods and climbing a tower and talking about the spiders, and they see that, and for half an hour you're right there. You can do it in the class, you can do it whenever you want. So that kind of thing will be in preparation for that. But the big gap is that, guys, you never thought about this before? Bringing little kids to La Selva is not outreach. Outreach is to go out there, you get La Selva out there and make them care about it. And some of them will come, and we have internships, we have some things. It's not total black hole, but it's not being a consistent mission, part of the mission to make sure that people around us know what we're doing in here and care about that. Knowing is one thing, caring is a whole different level. Yes, you want
Oh, I was just gonna see if you do have like schools or groups of people from Costa Rica come and stay here.
Yeah.
Like, do you have an environmental education?
Yes, we have a great environmental education department of one guy with no staff and no budget. So that shows you the level of commitment that we were putting on that. And that has to change. And that's changing. But it means that we have to, the communal have to go out and get the money to do that, because our budgets are not designed to absorb and create a big education department. And it's really has been depending on the person. You got one person that had a lot of connection with the schools, and there was lots of little kids running around here. This is not really a good place for kids to be running around. Okay? I had requests to bring kindergartens to here to La Selva, and I said, like, you know what little kids are out there in the woods? Pull and pray. No, it's just not really a good environment to have a bunch of little kids running around. It's super dangerous for them. So bringing them to La Selva is a special thing. Interns that we get from high school work 6 weeks, 7 weeks, up to 12 weeks a year. That's transformational for them. A field trip with a bunch of little screaming kids in here is not the thing that I want. It's not a park. It's a working station. So we have to be creative and generate different types of models for them.
Do you have just like the teachers going, is it? Just all the teachers who go here?
Well, the teachers are tied to the schools and tied to their schedule, so we have not created, and that's I think where the idea comes, the right workshops and training systems for them. We have a naturalist guide training program, and with grants and external funding that we get, we have right now 21 local youth that are being trained as nature guides. So they come every week and spend the whole Saturday, 7 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, learning about bird watching and interpretation and aquatic systems and things like that. It's a long training, and it's part of what they want to do as a career. So we are bringing people in, but for teachers, it's a special program. And I just submitted a grant yesterday specifically for that, for the bioliteracy. How do we take this information we have in here, put it in different formats, electronic, in paper, a magazine, a newsletter, books, whatever, and take it to the schools, and then create the mechanism for teachers to come and to learn about this and be able to replicate and multiply. We're never going to have 20 staff on the environmental education program, but we could have 300 teachers in the environmental education lessons that are based on the stuff they're learning in the summer. So that's a possibility, and that's actually okay. So we go on? Go. The only reason I show you this is to show you we're going from 30 meters above sea level to about almost 3,000 meters above sea level in that corridor. This is the last remaining forested corridor in Central America, of the Greenland corridor. That's how quickly this stuff has changed. Most of the protected areas are protected mountaintops because nobody really gets up there, or patches down in the lowlands, but the connections have been broken severely all around. And we have a trail that goes all the way up. It takes about 4 days to come down from the top, and little fuel stations along the way, and all kinds of projects. Really cool stuff. So what do we have in here, and how do we use it? We've seen that map already. The topography is fairly rugged, but not with great changes. But once you get up in here to the Netherlands, we're up in here right now. Once you get to this part, it's just like this. You're going up the hill, down the hill. It's a very complex technology, and I'll show you some pictures about that. The same map, but now with the infrastructure on top. Every dot, every square, every circle in there is somebody's project, a parcel where they're studying something or having studied something. This is the largest laboratory you ever see. It's a 1,600 hectares laboratory. Every little dot is a physical grid before GPS things. How do you find that tree that you measured 3 years ago that's in the middle of the forest somewhere? You just found it with the grid. And they're posts, all of these hundreds and hundreds of posts, every 50 meters by 100 meter grid. with the physical post and the coordinates in this, you can actually find the site where you worked years before, and that is maintained and still exists. We have 61 kilometers of trails, 16 of them paved, and on and on. But all of these, what it's showing you is how much is being invested in the infrastructure for research. Forest type now, well, it's rainforest, and you probably read a lot about rainforest. But two things that stand out in here are the palms. We have an enormous number of palms and different species and abundant palms in here. There's a forest of palms. And you walk in and you see these trees, and then you look up and say, oh, it's unusual. It's different, and it creates very specific conditions for some plants and animals. And being an old growth forest, you have the tree gaps. Big trees fall down and leave this hole. Once the trees grow, it's like a puzzle. They're all kind of separated by just small amounts of space where they rub against each other. But when this giant fall, there's this big hole. And those big holes are hugely important for the renewal of it and the dynamics of the forest. That's two features. We have a lot of wetlands as well. This is Cantabrana, which I hope that you get a chance to walk through at night. With frogs and whole thing. It's a really outstanding piece of wetland. We have several of those in here. And we have streams and rivers galore. This is what I started. This is what many, many years I've been invested in here in studying small forest streams, medium-sized forest streams, the largest rivers like the Puerto Viejo River, Sarapiquí River, which is completely different. This is a slow, deep, moving river, and right next to it there's a fast whitewater river that they use for rafting, and the two come together right at the tip of La Selva and form the continuous Sarapiquí River all the way to San Juan River in Nicaragua and to the it has enormous fluctuations, and I think we talked about this a little bit. I mean, this building would be flooded at times when the river overflowed, and it's of extraordinary beauty. And this is the kind of thing that I like people to see and to experience, because people love rivers in here, but they don't quite see them the way that biologists will see them, or an artist will see them, or a photographer will see them. And that's part of what we're doing, like what we did with the training of the guides. We put them on a boat and we went sampling and looking at the river. And they were like, I've been in this river 100 times and they never realized what was, like putting a mask and breaking that surface. All of a sudden it's like an aquarium. Because you don't see anything. If you do it in a stream, and it's even more dramatic. You see a stream and all you see is water and foam and things like that. You break that surface and it's an aquarium. And it's full of life. I mean, that connection, those little connections can be very significant. We have very unusual rivers, like the Sucio River, it's the dirty river, and it's this color, and it's because of all the volcanic inputs that it has from the outline all the volcanoes in here. Half of the streams, actually the lower half of the streams in here, have volcanic inputs that lower the pH severely, and it's really, really interesting biology. 61 kilometers of trails. There's a whole story behind why they're paved, and we can figure it out. Imagine hundreds and hundreds of people walking through the wet forest in the rainy season, how deep those mud piles will be right now. The shade houses, which are places to run experiments with the ambient temperature, the education center where we can bring classes and have their own laboratory and their own teachers lounge, and the analytical labs, and the library, and all the trappings that you would have in a field station that wants to be really productive. Our herbarium is very, very good. We have up to 8,000 specimens right now, of over 2,000 species of plants that we have here in myself. And we have the towers. And the towers are an extraordinary platform for research that is still potential. Not a lot of people are using them yet, but it's like the last frontier of the forest. These towers did for the canopy, or do for the canopy, what submarines do for the deep ocean. It just allows you to get there without having to be Superman. And you need to be Superwoman to climb up 50 meters up in ropes and not get bitten by a cancer creature along the way. This allows you, and we have a whole team of superwomen here that are canopy biologists, and they're awesome. So these towers allow you access with Wi-Fi, with electricity. I mean, I've done lectures from the top of a 42-meter tower to Tampa, to students in Tampa, because they are connected to the internet. You have cameras in there that you can control from the web page. Go to our website and you find the tower cameras, and then you can control them and you can make observations live. It's got a tremendous potential to connect people to research and to science, not just to see pretty things, but actually to do science. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And that's the beauty of this knowledge. What makes us stand out among most research facilities in the tropics is this: the length of some of these studies. Studies that go on for 20, 25, 30, even 40 years. And that is what makes us completely different. Because in 40 years, in 35 years, you start seeing patterns that you do not see in little blocks of 3-year NSF grants. You see that when you spend. And the coolest thing is all of these people are active right now here. And Rosa just left today. Deborah and David Clark were the directors here 20 years ago, and they're still involved in researching here. Mo Donnelly from University of Florida International University, and she it's one of those generational things. She came in and started her research when she was a graduate student, and then she got her PhD, got a graduate student herself, and they came here, and then the graduate student now has his own graduate students, and then they have all the 4 generations. I mean, the presentation she gave last summer was one of the funniest things, because all of them were there. She had brought in her graduate students and their graduate students, and so 4 generations in there, and she comes in, she's totally a field person, and then opens the beer and gives a wonderful hour-long presentation about what she's learned in 30 years doing research on amphibian decline, and it knocks your socks off, because 30 years with that whole generation of students, and it's fantastic to see. Same with the bat biologists. I didn't put the bats in here, but about 30 years ago, 2 German bat biologists in here, and now there's probably 30 or 35 bat biologists. And you can do the phylogeny and see who are the children of who, and academic children. And we joke. I can do German jokes if my wife is German. So we joke that in first grade, because all the bat biologists are German. What the hell? So we joke that in grade school they teach you how to read, how to write, and they teach you about bats. And they start you really early in Germany about bat biology. And we have some of them in here. Robin Chaslin was here a few days ago. Lee Dyer too. So all these people are still active in research, and their descendants will continue. Those type of research has produced this kind of productivity. 150 active research projects this year. About 300 scientists coming here every year, 100 plus university level courses, yours included, and between 140 to 200, more than 200 publications a year. It's about 1 publication every 2.5 days. And we have a bibliographic system. It's called bNaviTrop. You can find it on the website as well, on the LTS website, that compiles all of the papers written about tropical ecology, and it's one of the best resources that you can find about this. We have over 4,000 scientific publications now. And what do people come to study? Over 2,000 species of plants, including 162 families. You know what this little thing is? You ever seen that flower? It's like a little orchid. You like chocolate? That's the cocoa flower. And you find them in here because in the 1950s, Leslie Holdridge was experimenting with sustainable cocoa plantations under shade, so you don't have to cut the forest, and you still have some of those really old cocoa trees that just look like arches because they don't grow straight out. They grow and they start falling. And then all these flowers come out right out of the 469 species of birds. This is half the bird diversity in the whole country is here. You can see it here on the south. But this has become a kind of a mecca for bird watchers in Costa Rica. You see birds, you see things like you saw this one 3 days ago. And pink vultures, this is the sun bear, and all kinds of birds. Every year we add 1 or 2 species of really unique birds, including some canopy birds that you can only see when you're out in the canopy. 125 species of mammals, including 72 of them are bats. got bats coming out of the bat fry. It's Batman country. Including some of the cutest bats that you've ever seen. They're about the size of a cotton ball that you use for, the bathroom. And they're about this big and snow white, totally snow white. They feed on fruits, and that fig tree that is right there at the base of the bridge has figs about this big. This is a wild fig tree. This is the one with the little wasps. I don't know if you know the whole fig history, but maybe we'll stop on the way to lunch. And they, at night, when they're feeding, it looks like a little snow flurry on top of this. You put the light and all you see is white little flurries. And there are a lot of people that work. But we have jaguars, we have all kinds of different animals in here. 48 species of amphibians. I just saw yesterday one of these carrying 2 tadpoles. The life, I could talk for half an hour just about the life history of the poison dart frogs, or the blue jean frog, because it's so interesting, and all of that was described mostly from the Montgomery studies from here. And it's one of the stars of the amphibian decline studies, and it has a life history that is amazing. And the red-eyed tree frog is also pretty. Lots of reptiles, 87 species of reptiles, some of them venomous, like the eyelash viper, and the feather ants, which is the one that everybody fears. This is why we tell you to wear boots and shoes. This is the path between one of the dormitories and the dining hall. In the pitch dark of night, a feather ant will sit there and wait. What is it waiting for? It's tasting the air with its tongue. It's watching, seeing something, it's smelling, but it has 2 extra organs, which are the pits. That's why it's a pit viper, and that's just a heat sensor. So it's actually creating little maps of heat, just like you see in the movies with the guys in the army, creating little maps. So what is it going to see if you put this in front of it? What it's going to see is 10 little mice walking in front of it. So you become a potential source of food for very dangerous animals, which you normally know. You have shoes and you have boots. That signature is not there, so wear shoes. 45 species of birds compared to fish. That's not a lot compared to the Amazon that has over 2,000-3,000 species. Why there's a few fish in here? That's a good question. We can investigate that, but it has to do with how young the isthmus is, the Central American and Costa Rica is, and how short the rivers are. Because they're not very long. You can drive from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic in one day and go through 9 different ice zones. So you don't have a lot of time and space to develop big ponds. But some of them are very interesting, like some of the freshwater fish that actually drill holes on the sides of the banks to make the, they go like a drill, to make nests and some fascinating life happens. And here's where the big biodiversity is in the Arctic. Over 3,000 species of moths, over 500 species of ants, including the bullet ant. Did you get to see bullet ants? I do a lot of photography. A little side story just for fun. I do a lot of insect photography and most of the photos of mine. And after I take my picture, my big macro picture, I want to learn something about this species. So I touch it to see what they do. Sometimes I use a stick, but most of the time I just touch it. If you touch a beetle, it's just going to drop. Most of them just drop and disappear in the liquid. That's kind of cool. You touch a grasshopper, what does it do? It just jumps. You touch a moth, it just flutters or maybe shows you some eye. You touch a bullet ant, and it's just doing its own thing. And I've done this a couple of times. It doesn't work all the time, but it's just going to go like this. It's just going to kind of look at you like, you know what I am? What's going to happen to you if you keep doing that? They are fearless, they are amazing, they have a pack of sting that will make you cry, makes a grown man cry, grown woman cry. They're amazing. And we have a whole team right now studying them. They're doing long-term studies on the colony formations and things like that. You go to the Arboretum and there's all kinds of. This is why we don't bring little kids in here. You go to the Arboretum and you're going to get stung. Lots of different insects that are fabulous, interesting. Every time I go out, I find something that I've never seen before. And that includes the aquatic insects, which is my thing. These are the insects that I study, the non-biting midges or chironomids. I have over 400 undescribed species of this family for Costa Rica alone. And if I did nothing the rest of my life or tried to finish that, I will not get done. So we have set up a laboratory to start releasing that, including some new species of dragonfly and new species of dragonfly that I found on that stump over there. 45 years of biologists coming here, and a new species of dragonfly, all kinds, shows up in the middle of the town. So there's still a lot to learn and a lot to discover in places like this. And the diversity and the richness of the aquatic is extraordinary. Ducks and flies, caddis flies, mosquitoes, mayflies, and so on. We do a lot of natural history here. We have some of the best trained guides in the country, and people come here to get trained how to be a guide. And when they leave here, they become really top guides in their places, and they bring people here. So we have made an impact outside from all the field that producing really, really good guides. So much that the Institute of the Costa Rican Institute for Training, which is like a trade university that teaches environmental interpretation, wants to actually partner with OTS, so we teach the courses because we feel like they feel like we do it better than they do. When our guides need to be certified by ICT, the training institute, and when they go there, they correct all the materials and they update their species list and update the natural history information because our guides are really on top of it because they have this enormous resources. They're talking to scientists every day. So finally, they kind of saw the light and said, like, I did do this instead of this. We talk about environmental education. We work with some of those regional schools in some programs with volunteers on conservation activities. It's not enough. It's a touch. The thing about environmental education, and that's a problem in the U.S. as well, is that you have an education that grabs a kid in kindergarten and lets it go in high school, and then environmental education is this. The little touches. Oh, maybe the fourth graders go out and do some environmental education thing, and then we did check environmental education done. And then they go in the 6th grade and do a little camp. And then in the 12th grade they do a science fair. It's just like little touches. What needs to happen, if we really want to make a change, is that instead of this, we have this. So environmental education is the axis, not the touches. You can teach math out there. You can teach a lot of it. You want to find what's the worst model for learning that has ever been invented and they're still used? This model. Personal and they have a bunch of students, little kids that need to move, sitting, don't move, don't talk, don't poke at your neighbor, sit there and listen to an adult wobble, wobble, wobble for 45 minutes at a time. That's the worst. There's a book called Brain Rules by John Medina. You learn so much about yourself just by reading that book. And it's all about how the brain works. This is the brain rules, the rules for functioning the brain, and how the brains evolve. Movement. Why do you think I move so much? I can fall asleep on my own talk if I don't move. That's how we learn. Compare kids in the classroom, kids in the playground. Screaming all that. Where do you think they're learning the most? They're in the playground. They're not learning in the class. They're falling asleep. They need movement, oxygen. That's how the brain works. So, if environmental education, which takes the kids outside, and they learn a lot and they remember that. Imagine if that happened every day. Like part of your studies is out here. You have no idea how many times I've done lectures in here, and we had to stop because it's hyenas, the pigs are walking around, or there was a toucan that came in and started fighting with the snake. Stop talking, just go look at that. That's more important. That will be memorable. You learn something. That model of environmental education is what we need to try to do. And it extends to decision makers. I have a workshop that's called Welcome to Your Watershed, talking about watershed management and all of that. And we call it Welcome to Your Watershed, but what it really is like how not to make stupid decisions in your job. Because most decision makers make really stupid environmental decisions simply because they have no idea what a watershed is and how it works and how it functions. So that kind of stuff is what we're doing in environmental education. We bring volunteers here that do all this kind of stuff. It took a long time for that, but we believe that. And they do trail maintenance, and we have invasive species, not a lot. A couple of bananas, and actually these bananas are the invasive species. It's a banana that actually opens up, it splits, and it's white inside with black seeds and the birdseed seeds. It's really good. And coffee is another invasive species for us, so we remove those with one food. And scientists for a day, right now, it was simply come bring him for 2-3 hours and teach him how to do a transect or something like that. Kind of weighing, what did they learn? Well, yeah, they just went in the field. They learned something, but I want to do something different. And we started a new program with this that is a legacy climate change data sets. I'm taking those long-term studies that have 35 years of data that are amazing, the conclusions that we can get. And we're doing it with kids. High school students that come here and spend 2 days, at least 1 day, full day, actually doing every single thing that the scientists are doing with the same species, same methodology, same data collection in the same sites. Not in the same trees, but because they don't want to camp on their site, but in the Selva. And what they're doing is they're recreating and adding data to what already exists. And they can see the data points in context with their real research and learn what are the conclusions. If they do this for 30 years, look what you would see. Over time, this data set is going to become quite robust. You do this 8, 10, 20 times a year. Have a really good data set about tree growth and climate change and how climate is influencing the growth of trees. So, and we're doing that. We want to do that with amphibians and with insects and with other things. Some of those long-term climates. And we do a lot of that in the region where we visit. 2 words about climate. Hot. It gets about 31, 32 degrees maximum, but over the year it doesn't change that much. It's fairly stable with the average temperatures. The reason we get so much rain here is we get most of it. You get these masses of wet, warm Caribbean weather. It hits this backbone of a mountain change. And where's all that clouds is going to go? It's just not going to go up and climb up the mountain. There's stuff up there too. Okay? There's like air up there. And then, so it hits the mountains and it gets squeezed. It's just like squeezing a sponge. It's dropping all of that moisture all along the Caribbean side until it hits the cloud forest and it's going really fast and it swings down the cloud forest. All the moisture during 6 months of the year is already left on the side and it comes down this way, screaming. I used to live up in here, halfway about 2,000 meters above sea level on this side. And the wind will hit 60 miles an hour gusts. For 6 months, it will drive the researchers nuts. They have to get out of there after 2 weeks. I couldn't let my kids run around because they would just get blown over. And then the other 6 months, you get the Pacific weather, and then you get rain all through the whole country. But this is why we're such a wet. How wet? Our dry season, which is not really a dry season, it's a less wet season. It's in March and April. Right now we're already going up into the precipitation. But we have this little mini dry season here and a little bit less precipitation. By July we're getting about 500 millimeters per month. I came from Southern California, well you came from Colorado. I've had 14 inches of rain a year over there. There's 14 feet of rain a year in here. All the way up to 6 meters of rain. Just think of the weight 6 meters of rain. That's that amount of water that they use. And that was in really year in 68, and then all the way down to less than 3. But it's not varying very much in amount. It's pretty stable from the 1950s to here. You have an average of 4,000 millimeters. Not too bad. It's not the amount of rain what is really important. It's how that rain is falling. There's a very big difference between 1 millimeter of rain in 24 hours and 1 millimeter of rain in 24 minutes. The intensity of this rain events is changing. And we see it in the storms and the severity of the storms. So we're getting basically the same amount of rain, but we're getting it in different patterns. So we get things like droughts. And I'm going to show you later a picture of a Selva drought. Imagine a drought in here. What does that look like? Well, it's still raining. It's still moisture in the air, but the plants are shriveling. Because you get 4 or 5 days like this, and the plants are already in water stress, and they start shutting down. And the temperature is also rising, and I'll talk more about that. So, this is where we take a little calisthenic break.